The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships, or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
Asking for someone else to hold you accountable. Maybe it's a coach, trainer, boss, friend, mentor, whoever it is. Maybe it's your wife, your husband, your kids. You see, one of the biggest reasons people get into hiring a coach or a trainer is that they think that they want someone else to hold them accountable. They want someone else to tell them what they need to do. And they may even ask a question. You as a coach may even ask a question like, hey, why do I want a coach? Why do I want a trainer? And I'll often ask my clients this, or people that are potential clients, and they'll say things like, I just want someone to hold me accountable. I just want someone to be accountable to. And then they'll say things like, I need accountability. And yet, what do we know? What do we actually know about this accountability? You see, accountability is all about taking responsibility. And the question I want to ask you is, how can I hold you accountable to your own actions? If I did, wouldn't this be my accountability? Wouldn't this be mine? Wouldn't this be my accountability if I have to hold you accountable? It would eventually turn into my own accountability. So let's talk about what are the facts that we know about accountability. You see, if you look at the definition, it's all about taking responsibility for your own actions. It's about admitting that you made a mistake. And admitting that you made a mistake can be very difficult, especially if you're not used to it. Oftentimes, this ends up in lying. Maybe it's about addictions, things that we're addicted to, like drugs, smoking, chewing, maybe watching porn. Oftentimes, those are things that get into the way, and so we end up lying. What I want you to understand is a lot of times addictions are because we're not accountable to ourselves. So we end up lying. And what happens in this place? What does it feel like to not be accountable? It has these feelings of blame, shame, guilt, irresponsible, victim mentality. A lot of times not being accountable is this victim mentality. It's scary. Think about this. How many times in your life have you tried to blame someone else for your mistakes and not take responsibility, not admit that you made a mistake? How many times have you blamed a coach or a trainer for your lack of results? Think about this. Here's what I know. Back in around year 2000 is when I started my training career. And I can remember people throughout the last 19, 20 years of doing this, where they would actually blame their coach for their lack of results. They would blame their coach for their results. And it's crazy to me that people actually continue to do this and they don't accept responsibility for their own choices and their own mistakes. But what does it feel like to actually be accountable? What does it feel like to admit your mistakes? Well, feelings that come up a lot of times, yes, it feels responsible. It feels like I'm committed, but sometimes it's very vulnerable. It feels like you're exposed, like you're naked, your fear. Those are kind of the initial things that come up. And then once you do it, you become responsible. You take this ownership and you can move forward. But these are all things that you can begin to ask yourself. What mistake am I not willing to admit? What am I not willing to take responsibility for? Because there's stories on both sides. You see, the story of not being responsible is I need someone else to hold me accountable. The story of not being accountable is I need someone else to do it so I can blame them. If I have someone else to hold me accountable, then that gives me an opportunity to blame them if things don't work out. There's often these stories that I can't do it on my own. I like having a coach hold me accountable to what I said I would do. Now, this is a different spin on it. And this is the way that I started to understand accountability is like, maybe I'm going to hire a coach or trainer to just hold me accountable to what I said I would do. Sometimes paying money, a certain amount of money holds you accountable into this higher standard. This is the other side. This is the responsible side. And I hear a lot of times people say this, man, I just want to be able to do it on my own. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But sometimes paying money, paying someone else forces me to show up in a different way. It forces me to show up responsible. Maybe sometimes it just comes down to trust with your coach or your trainer. And you lean on them to be honest about how you're actually showing up. I can think back to so many coaches and mentors I've had where they've challenged me. Hey, how are you showing up right now? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? I'm doing all the work. And they're like, yeah, you're doing the minimum. And so it would challenge me to play at a different level. It would challenge me to rise up to this other level and take responsibility and say, yeah, maybe I am doing this work, but am I actually rising up above this? And there's this crazy thing I started to think about is accountability is sort of like, or being accountable is like a noun. And the noun version of accountability does not work. Once we become accountable and take action, we are now taking ownership and using it in a way that gets us the results that we actually want. Where in your life can you begin to hold yourself to a higher standard of accountability? Where in your life can you begin to hold yourself to this high level of accountability? Maybe it's paying for a coach. Maybe it's just having a mentor and telling them, hey, here's what I'm committed to. But I want to give you one way to do this today and simply just share what worked for me. And I really don't want you to think of accountability as a noun and something you do, but turning it into a verb and taking action. You can't do accountability. You can only be accountable. You can't do accountability. You can only be accountable. So this is an opportunity for you to step into being accountable and step into accountability. And as a coach, this is the place I want my clients to work towards. Simply just being accountable to what they committed to, and me being able to hold up a mirror and reflect that back on them. Listen, the reason I want you to work on this is because I want you to learn how to be accountable to yourself and utilize the coach for a different reason. Utilize the coach for something more powerful than just being accountable to them. So I'm going to give you 2 steps to walk through. This is the beginning of my accountability frame. This is what I teach inside of my 12-week human potential program. This is what I teach. So I want to go through this today. So number 1 is this. I choose my feelings. So anytime you want to blame or be a victim to someone else, say that they did something to you, remember this. I choose my feeling. It's not about the other person. It's never about the other person. No matter what they did to you, it's never about them. It's about you. And then the last piece of this is, what have I done to create this? What have I done to create this? And this begins the reframe. What have I done to create this? Whatever situation you're in, whatever has happened, what have I done to create this? And this takes ownership. This takes responsibility. And you begin to look at this through that angle. Maybe you made a mistake that you're unconscious of and you didn't know about. But both of these have to do with you taking responsibility once and for all and no longer being a victim or putting the blame on other people. Remember this. You can only hold yourself accountable to what you have committed to. Your coach is simply there to reflect your same level of commitment. No more, no less. If the coach has more commitment than you, then there becomes tension and it doesn't work. Look to your coach to hold you to a standard that you set and be accountable to this and doing what you said you would actually do. And that is the real part of accountability and working with a coach. It's just letting them hold you to a standard that you set, not that they set, that you set, and everything that you said you would do. And stop looking to a coach to blame, to be a victim to talk about, because if you blame them for your results, then you have to also give them credit for the results that they've gotten you. You see, that's one of the biggest issues with coaches today is they want to say that they got their clients these results. Well, the client did the work. Sure, I kept them on track. And maybe when they got off, I reminded them, hey, this is what you've said you've committed to. But I don't take responsibility for my clients' results, because if I do that, I got to take responsibility for the lack of their results. I'm simply here to be a guide for them, to guide them to their results and where they want to be. They have to end up doing the work. And that is the ultimate accountability that you can have, not only as a coach, but as a client. See, if you're looking to connect further with a group of like-minded people, join myself and so many others in my Habit-Based Lifestyle Secrets group on Facebook. This is where I'll be dropping daily habits, daily tips. I'll be doing lives and just interacting at a deeper level. If you want to be one of our next case studies and begin living this habit-based lifestyle that we talk about, reach out to me. I just put up my new site. It's www.jesseewell.com. You can also check out my other website, habitbasedlifestyle.com. If you have any questions, comments, requests, concerns, reviews, feel free to contact me, jesse@habitbasedlifestyle.com. Until next episode, have a great day.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse